Alright guys, we're here doing an update for the Trax Mini. We had originally thought that there was an issue with voltage, the B+ voltage on the Wells Gardner 4700 monitor, which is that guy right there. It's basically the 13-inch version of the 4600. When I tested the B+ voltage on this, we got like 75 volts. Then we went ahead and tested the voltage coming out of the isolation transformer after doing 10,000 other things, and we determined, hey, we think there's an issue with the isolation transformer. We were getting like 60, 65 volts coming out of it. Well, I actually had access to another Williams isolation transformer. So I said, let's go ahead and try it and see what happens. Well, so I've got the voltmeter set up here. We're going to test the voltage on it, see what the new one does, and see if it makes any changes. So our interlock switch is out. Let's go ahead and flip the switch and see what we get. Power is on, and we're still dialing in at exactly the same, about 65.5 volts. So let's think about this for a second. Now, I have here a step up, step down transformer that I actually pulled out of this cabinet. It was originally sitting here in the back. Now, I didn't think anything of it at the time. The guy said that this was in here originally, and he pulled it out and, ran the wiring for everything and was having issues. Now, it didn't dawn on me until months later that this could be the issue. This cabinet was probably wired for 220 or 230, 235, whatever, is common overseas, and that may have been in the issue. So upon further investigation, let's shut the power off. I'm looking at the schematic, and if we look really close here, this is the power wiring diagram here for the Williams power supply in this Trax, which is common among other things like Defender and Stargate and all other things like that. So if we look really close here, we've got a little note that says for 105 or 117 volts AC, there's, that resistor there. But if we take a look at note number 3 right here, it says there is a white-red jumper wire on 6P1, pins 2 and 6, 4 and 5 are connected for 117 volt AC operation. That's what we have here in the US. 220 volts AC operation, remove these jumpers and connected a wire between pins 2 and 5. Aha! Well, let's take a look at what we have here. And there is only that one jumper wire. This is our jumper wire right here. So what we're going to do real quick is we're going to actually go take a look at another cabinet, another Mini that has this same exact wiring setup and see what it has for jumper wires. Now note, there is one here. Let's go out to the garage and take a look and see what's at the one out there. Alright guys, we're in the garage. Let's go over and take a quick look at the Mini. So we've got another Williams Mini right over there. That's going to be a Robotron Mini that I'm doing for a friend, and I want to give a quick thanks to Jay for letting me take a look at his wiring here. So I quickly borrowed his isolation transformer just to see if anything has changed. But if we take a quick look at this, let's set this up real quick right here. This is the wiring setup. It's the same exact plug that goes into the isolation transformer. And if you look at this, we have 2 jumper wires here. Now let's kind of orient ourselves really quick, just to give ourselves a point of reference. These 2 purple and yellow wires here, down at the bottom, right here, those go to the monitor. Now that's where I was having my issue. So if we orient ourselves, we've got a jumper wire here that's going from the middle pin to the outside left on the second row as we're looking at it. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. Okay. Then we have another jumper wire over here, which is going from the middle of that second row to directly underneath it. Nope, I'm sorry. To directly next to it. Let's see if we can look at that. Alright, so we got this jumper wire here, which is going from the middle to the right, and this one's going from the top middle to the second row left. There should be 2 jumper wires on my connector, but there's only one. So that means mine is set up for 230 volts, not the standard 110, 120, or let's call it a 117 as they were back in the day. So let's go back into the basement and make a quick little jumper cable to do that same exact thing. So we're back in the basement. We're looking at the connector for my Trax Mini here, and remember that the one in the garage, it's going to be the Robotron Mini. I think that was originally a Stargate cabinet, but it had 2 jumper wires. Now here is the 1 jumper wire. Now, if you recall, the jumper wire that started here in the middle went to the outside left on this second row. And the one that was in the middle, where this one is currently plugged in, then went to this outside, kind of where this hole is empty. So we need to create a jumper wire and move this middle one to the left, or we could actually, move the top to the right. I've already got my de-pinning tool here, so we're going to go ahead and pop out that pin, and hopefully we can just move it over. Alright, so that de-pinning tool is finally in. It should click, and then we can go ahead and pop out that middle pin, and now we're going to move this over. Now this is the setting for 230 volts. We don't want 230 because, well, we're in the United States. So we're going to move that pin there just over one spot. And then what we're going to do is create, so we'll push that in. And then we're going to create a jumper wire to go in between the middle and the right, those 2 holes right there. So let's go ahead and do that now. So to create our jumper wire, we don't need much wire at all, maybe 2 or 3 inches. So we'll just go ahead and cut off a little piece here. And then we'll go ahead and strip the ends of this wire. And the connector that we're going to use on this is going to be the, female Molex connector. So let's go ahead and pull that off. Okay. So we've got our jumper wire here. And basically all this is going to do is make a little loop like this to just go into both of those holes. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead, and we've got some connectors right here. We'll go ahead and put those on either side, and then we'll put them into our connector, test it without anything plugged in, just to make sure it's good, and then we'll give it a real test run. So we have our 2 female connectors here. These are the ones with the holes in them for that male side, if you guys can see that. What we're going to go ahead and do is just put one on either side of this jumper wire. If you guys have never done this before, you're going to want a crimper. I used to be able to get this crimper pretty cheap from Bob Roberts, but there's got to be some other sources out there now, as Bob Roberts' shop has closed. But what you're going to do, just kind of lay this in here like that. And then I'm sure there's a right and a wrong way to do it, and I'm sure I do it the wrong way, but I crimp the B side first, which is the smaller side. And I do that just so I know that it's actually got a firm connection on the actual copper part of the wire. Let's see if you guys can see that. So I just go ahead and I crimp that down right like that. And then I do it actually around the wire housing, which is the A side. I think I've seen other people do it A then B because alphabetically that makes sense, but I like to do things out of order, I guess. So let's go ahead and put that in. I clearly stripped that wire too far back, but it's fine. You get the idea. So we got our crimper in there. We'll go ahead and we'll crimp. Then we'll do the A side with the housing. There we go. We've got our jumper wire. And this is just going to go into our connectors. Let's go ahead and put that in, hopefully in the correct spot. Okay, so if we recall, we did need a jumper wire that went from the top middle, and that's with the power wires for the monitor oriented in the bottom left corner. So top middle to second row left, and then we're going to go second row middle to right, second row right. And that's all we need to do is just take this jumper wire and go in that side. And then we're going to go ahead and put this one in over here into this mess of wires. Alright, let's get this so it's not tangled. It's going to be tangled. Let's not tangle it. Alright. So into this one right here. So that's clicked in. Alright, so we've got our two jumper wires in place. Let's go ahead and plug this in and test our voltage for the monitor and see what we get. Alright, so we've got our jumper wire in and we've got our voltmeter on. We're going to check the voltage. Right now we're reading 0. Let's go ahead and flip it on and see what we get for a voltage. Alright, there we go. I think that's where we want to be. We were getting 130 volts coming out for the isolation transformer, and I think what we want for a B plus on that 4700 is 127 volts, and there is a B plus adjustment on the monitor. So I think we are okay. So I've got the B plus on the monitor turned all the way down. So now what I'm going to go ahead and do is we'll plug in the monitor and see what we get for a B plus there. But now we're actually getting the voltage that we need for our monitor versus exactly half of what it was supposed to be getting. So that's all I needed. So if you've got an issue with your voltage and you think it's your isolation transformer, check your jumper wires here. You're supposed to have 2. Not 1. I don't know why mine was set for that. It makes me wonder where this cabinet was. I mean, I did pull out a step up, step down transformer out of this cabinet. It was literally sitting way in the back there. You can actually kind of see the outline for it. But let's go ahead and we'll check the B plus for the monitor, and we'll do that by taking our positive lead and plugging it, onto, with the blue lead wire goes in. Okay, let's go ahead and do that and we'll see where we're at. Alright, so I moved back over to the original transformer that was in this game. I tested the voltage and I still get the 130 volts for the monitor, so which is right there. And we're going to test the B plus on this 4700, which is exactly like the 4600 minus the 13-inch tube and a few caps here and there. So I've got over here, if you guys can kind of see it, there is I'm attached that blue lead right there, which is for one of the voltage regulators. And then I've got my black lead going to the chassis ground. And we're going to test our voltage, see what it dials in at, and hopefully we're within specs. Let's go ahead and turn it on and hope nothing blows up. Here you got a monitor. Monitor turned on, but what's my voltage at? Why am I... there we go. 127. Should have been on DC, not AC by the time it gets there. So 127 volts, that's perfect. That's exactly where we should be. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is plug in the game board. Maybe we'll actually have a working game. Alright, so we've got the new jumper wires in with the transformer back in. Everything's connected. The monitor is hooked up. We're getting the proper voltage. We tested the B+. We're dialed right in at 127 volts, which is where it should be. I did pick up 2 Make Trax boards. This is the original that's in there. And this is also the original power supply that's there as well. Even though we picked up a second one of those, we've rebuilt that, we've recapped the monitor, we've done voltage regulators, we've done a whole bunch of filter caps and paper caps on this, reflowed a ton of stuff, and several months later we figured out that the only real issue was the jumper wire. It was set for 230 volts, not 117 as it should have been. So that's set now, and if we take a look at the front of this Make Trax Mini, we have a full-size image. Now I'm getting some graphics glitches there. I'm not sure if that's like a ground issue or a video, but I do have a slight wave going on there. But this is way better than it should have been. And even our marquee is much brighter. Let's see if I turn off this overhead light. Yeah, we can actually see it. If we take a look behind, it's just a bunch of little incandescent bulbs, and they were very dull beforehand, but now they're significantly brighter than they were. So that must have had an issue to do with that as well, that jumper wire. But there we go. We've made some progress, and now it's time to go ahead and start cleaning this cabinet up. We'll see if we can address that grand issue. I can't tell if that's only on that screen. It's like when there's a black background. I don't know. We'll take a look. We'll see what's going on. Maybe it's the... I don't know. Bet you there's a ground. It still shows up there, too. It's like after it warms up. But we'll take a look. And this is way better than it was. So this is progress. Alright, guys. Thanks a lot. There's the update for that. And it's like I can finally admit, hey, I'm an idiot. It only took me several months to figure it out. It was just a jumper wire. Alright, guys. Take it easy.